The first time I fasted, I kind of dealt with the usual stuff that most people that fast deal with, hunger pains and fatigue, only focusing on food like the whole time, difficulty focusing on anything else, and that kind of weird mix of being like both tired and kind of like hyped up and wired at the same time. So how should you respond if someone asks you, "Hey, are you fasting?" Like, should you tell them, or should you lie, or should you pretend like you just weren't hungry? Jesus said in Matthew 6:16-18, he said, "When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others that they are fasting. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you fast, put on oil on your head and wash your face so that it will not become obvious to others that you're fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen. And your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." So does that mean that fasting is supposed to be a secret? So let's talk about that a little bit. It's not a secret, it's a heart check. That verse isn't saying you can't tell anyone you're fasting. It's not about secrecy, it's about sincerity. Jesus is warning us not to fast for attention. Don't go around like looking miserable or fishing for sympathy so people will think you're like some kind of super Christian or super spiritual. But that doesn't mean you have to lie or hide it either. So don't walk around saying like, "Oh, I already ate," when you haven't. That kind of defeats the purpose, like being truthful during this fasting season. The key is your motive. If your fasting draws attention to God, that's worship. If your fasting draws attention to you, that's hypocrisy. The enemy wants you to fast alone. So here's another reason why it matters. The idea that you can't tell anyone you're fasting can actually be a trick of the enemy. And so why? Well, because isolation makes you vulnerable. And so if the enemy can keep you focusing, keep your fasting and focusing on silence while you're fasting without support, without prayer partners, without accountability, he can whisper doubt and discouragement and temptation when you're weak. When Jesus was tempted during his fast, he responded with the word. We need the same thing. We need the prayers of our friends, our family to help us stay strong when we feel like giving up on our fast. Practically speaking, people will notice eventually, especially if they're used to eating lunch with you or meals with you every day that see you regularly, that you're fasting. So if a non-believer asks why you're not eating, keep it simple. You can say something just like, "Hey, I have other plans for lunch today," because that's true. You're spending lunch with the Lord. If a fellow believer asks, it's perfectly fine to say, "Hey, I'm fasting and praying right now." Usually that's all the explanation that's needed. If your family or friends start to worry about your health, reassure them. Tell them that you'll stop fasting if you sense that you're harming your body, or if the Lord leads you to end early. And if you have any medical concerns, always consult your doctor before beginning a fast. Next one is really want to avoid the spotlight. Here's what not to do. Don't walk into a room and loudly announce to everyone that "I want you all to know that I'm fasting, and so there will be no eating for me today." That's not fasting. That's actually performing. And Jesus said that when you do things to be seen by others, that is the only reward that you'll get. Also, don't be your own worst enemy by constantly talking about food, saying things like "I'm starving," or it smells so good," or "I wish I could eat that," or that'll only make you more miserable and distract you from the purpose of your fast. So there's a balance. Number one, fasting is not a secret, but it's also not a show. You don't have to hide it, but you don't have to broadcast it either. Let a few trusted people, know so they can pray with you and encourage you. But keep the focus on God, not on your hunger. Remember, fasting is about humility. Now, in our final session, we'll talk about what you can expect and to experience physically while fasting, and how to stay encouraged and effective through the ups and downs of this season of fasting.